A seeker can tell a true living master if his inner and outer being is inundated with delight and ecstasy when he approaches the master. If you see a real spiritual master, he may not be your master, but your inner joy will determine if he is real. Again, you may stand in front of a true master and not get anything because you are in a low consciousness. But if your heart is crying for a real master, then you are bound to feel something when you stand in front of one. And if you find your own master, you will find everything that you need in this life. When you are with a God-realized master, consciously or unconsciously, you are bound to feel some peace, some light, some bliss, some power, because it is his very nature to radiate these things. He is not showing off. It is spontaneous, as the very nature of a flower is to emit fragrance. Every day you come in contact with thousands of people, but you do not get this from any of them. A master's outer body may be very ugly, but in his eyes you will see all divine qualities. And if his eyes are closed, you may observe nothing outwardly, but deep inside yourself you will feel an inner joy that you have never felt before. You have felt joy before, true, but the inner thrill that you will get the moment you stand before a real spiritual master for the first time can never be described. And if the master is your own master, then the joy will be infinitely greater. You are bound to feel all kinds of divine qualities in the spiritual master, provided you have aspiration. Otherwise, you may sit in front of the spiritual master, talk to him, have all kinds of intimate friendship with him, but you will get nothing. It is your aspiration that permits you to receive all the divine qualities of the master. If you have no aspiration, no matter what the master has, he will not be able to give it to you. Also, when you speak to a real master, your own sincerity has to come forward. This does not mean that you will always express your sincerity. You may tell lies in spite of the fact that your sincerity is pushing you, compelling you to tell the truth. But when you are with a spiritual master, you at least want to offer your sincerity, although insincerity may come and fight with you and sometimes prevent you. When you are with a realized master, you are bound to feel that the master understands you. And not only that he understands you, but also that he has the capacity to comfort you and help you in your problems. Some people feel that there is nobody on earth to understand them. But if they are lucky enough to find a person who understands them, they come to know that this person still cannot solve their problems because he does not have inner light, inner wisdom, inner power. A spiritual master not only understands your problems, but also has the capacity in infinite measure to help you in your needs. When you stand before a master, you will feel that he can never be separated from your inner or outer existence. You feel he is your highest part, and you want to grow into him. You want to become a perfect part of his highest realization for the very divine qualities that you are aspiring for: light, joy, peace, power. A spiritual master has in boundless measure. A God-realized man or spiritual master is not someone with wings and a halo to identify him. He is normal, except that in his inner life he has abundant peace, light, and bliss. So if you come to a spiritual man expecting something other than boundless peace, light, bliss, and power, then you will be disappointed. But again, you must know if you are fit to judge. If I know nothing about medical science, how am I going to judge a great doctor? Only another doctor will know how to judge him properly. But a nurse who knows a little about medical science can appreciate a great doctor far better than I. In the spiritual life, a real seeker who has sincere aspiration and dedication has already achieved a little bit of inner light. Because of his aspiration, God has endowed him with an iota of light, and with that light, he is bound to see and feel something in a true spiritual master. If one is really advanced in the spiritual life and is making fast progress in his inner journey, then his aspiration will be the best judge as to whether the other person, the so-called spiritual master, is genuine or not. So the best judge is one's sincere aspiration. There are quite a few ways to know whether a master is genuine or not. If the master says that he will be able to grant you realization overnight, then he is a false master. If he says that if you give him a fee of a few $100 or a few $1,000s, then he will be able to help you enter into a higher realm of consciousness and attain peace, light, and bliss, then he is a false master. A true master will tell the seeker all the time that he is not God. He is not even the Guru. God himself is the real master. The human master is only serving God in the seekers. He is not the Guru. The real Guru is God himself. So if a seeker wants to know who a true master is, from these guidelines, he can usually know the real from the false. There are millions and billions of people on earth, but only a very few of these are actually realized. If you feel there are hundreds of spiritually realized people on earth, then you are mistaken. The world is quite vast, but when it is a matter of truly realized persons, then I wish to say that there are only 10 or 12 on earth right now. There are some swamis and teachers who have meditated and sincerely practiced yoga for 10 or 15 years, and who are far superior to their students, but who are not actually God-realized souls. One need not have reached the highest to teach a beginner, just as one does not need a master's degree to teach kindergarten. To be very frank with you, these so-called masters have indulged in doubt, impurity, and other undivine things. But those who have really realized the highest truth are infinitely above such self-indulgences. There are sincere and insincere masters. Many insincere masters come to the West and exploit people. In India, also, false masters exploit seekers. But God will not allow a sincere student to be deceived forever. The seeker's own inner cry will take him to a real teacher. If it is God's will, the student may get a really high master who will take him right from the beginning to the highest. Otherwise, he will get a master who will take him only through kindergarten, and then he will have to find another teacher. No sincere effort will end in failure. If I am sincere and if you are meant to be my teacher, God will bring us together. But again, there are many wrong forces operating in the world, and I may be deceived by somebody who is not meant for me. But this cannot go on forever. After some time, my own inner being will tell me that this master is not meant for me. There are many ways to know which master is meant for me. The person who gives me the greatest joy is my master, even if he is not someone who has millions of disciples. Many people make a Himalayan blunder. When they see that somebody has thousands and millions of disciples, immediately they think that he has something. Otherwise, nobody would have gone to him. But this is absolutely wrong. Yes, he may have many disciples, but that doesn't mean that you have to become his disciple. If you feel inner joy in his presence, if you feel from within that he is the right person, this is what matters. Unfortunately, it usually does not happen like that. People have no sense of discrimination. They don't go deep within. To accept a master is a most important thing, because it is the master who guides, molds, and shapes the student in his life of aspiration. If somebody says that there is a set fee, that if you give him thousands of dollars, then God realization will come, kindly don't believe him. If God realization could be achieved by material wealth, then all the rich people on earth would have realized God. But unfortunately, it is not like that. We are in a terrible hurry. If we hear that somebody can give us God realization overnight, we go. In the ordinary life, it takes us 22 years to get a master's degree, which represents ordinary human knowledge. So how can we expect to get the highest knowledge, inner knowledge, if we don't study for 10 or 15 or 20 years? Our difficulty is that we want to simplify everything. We want to get everything ready-made like instant coffee, but it is not like that. How can one get a master's degree in one day? He goes to kindergarten, high school, college, and then one day he gets his master's degree. But if a kindergarten student feels that he can get his master's degree today just because his elder brother has got it, then he is just fooling himself. His elder brother has studied hard for 20 years. But then again, there are, unfortunately, some false masters who tempt the seekers and say that they can give it overnight. Unfortunately, I don't have that capacity. I take my disciples' spiritual life as a serious matter, a most serious matter. What I can give you will take time, and what you have to offer me, your aspiration, will also take time. Aspiration has to increase little by little. My role is to bring down compassion from above, and this also has to increase little by little. It is like this. On your part you will climb up, and on my part I will come down and bring down light. There should be a simultaneous effort by the spiritual master and the disciple. With his inner cry, the disciple goes up, and the master comes down with a smile of God. This is the role of the spiritual master. At this moment he identifies with the seeker, and he climbs up with his disciple's inner cry. Then the next moment he comes down with God's smile. The perfection of the seeker is his cry, and the perfection of God is his smile. When a seeker can cry from the inmost recesses of his heart, this is perfection. And when God smiles with his heart's delight, this is perfection. In the inner life, there is an easy way, a convincing way to know who your master is. Just take a piece of paper and write down the names of the spiritual masters whom you have seen, or whom you have read about, or merely heard of. They may be here in America or somewhere else. As you write down the name of a particular master, repeat his name aloud 7 times most soulfully, placing your right palm on your heart. Try to feel the vibration you get from him. Now you become the teacher yourself. If you feel no vibration, give him 0. Repeat this procedure, giving a grade for each master. If you get some vibration, give him the mark you feel he deserves. You are the judge. It is you who are going to offer your life to someone, and you cannot be a fool. When you are going to dedicate your whole life to someone, you do not want to become that master's disciple just because some person you know has accepted him as his master, or just because he has thousands of disciples. On the other hand, if a master has only a few disciples, you should not go to him solely for that reason either. It is all God's play. God has given to some masters thousands and thousands of disciples, and to others he has given very few. God tells one master that he has to be very selective, and God tells another master to accept anyone who comes to him. God has given you the opportunity to make a selection. Continue to write down the names of the masters and repeat their names out loud. If you get an intense vibration and a real inner thrill, a feeling of ecstasy from one name, then give that master 80 or 90 or even more. But if you get only a good vibration and not an inner thrill, then give him 40 or 50. If none of the masters you know of is meant to be your master, then you will not get that inner thrill from any of them. Perhaps you are not yet familiar with your master's name. But in India we say, when the disciple is ready, the master is bound to come. If you are really ready for a master, then I wish to say that your master is available. He may be in the farthest corner of the globe, in India or somewhere else, but you are bound to find him. If you accept a master, his path becomes yours. You cannot be in 2 boats at once. If you keep one foot in one boat and the other foot in another boat, you are going to break your legs. Each master is right in his own way. Each boatman will take you to the destined goal. You have to know that the goal is the same, but the roads may not and cannot be of the same length. There are many roads that lead to Rome, but you will see that one particular road will lead you there sooner than the others. in the spiritual life, that road, that path, is the path of love. The road of knowledge, wisdom, and intellect will lead you to your goal, undoubtedly, but it will be a long, slow process. Now I beg to be excused. I answered your question and then entered into other details. To come back to your question, I wish to say that the very name of your spiritual master will immediately give you boundless joy. I have quite a few disciples who just heard my name on the phone or somewhere else and then came to me. God knows what their needs are and sends them to the right master if they are sincere in their inner cry. The name of the person who's going to be your master will give you a divine vibration, an inner thrill, because you will have a strong inner affinity for him. Perhaps you have not read any book by him. Perhaps you know next to nothing about his outer or inner life. But his name will have a mantric effect on you, because sooner or later he is going to be your inner pilot. Your inner cry has already reached the heart of your master. In the outer life, the moment his name comes to you, you will feel a magic inner thrill and your heart will be touched. Each master has a specific path. It is not actually his personality. The master has been ordained by the inner pilot to have a path of his own, and if seekers are suitable for his path, then naturally he will take them as his disciples. Now you may say that each master has a way of dealing with the disciples according to the master's own individuality and personality. But this individuality is not the human individuality, the human ego. Again, it is not the personality or individuality of the master that separates or creates the paths. It is the will of the Supreme that commands each master to have a path of his own. The master just executes the will of the Supreme, who says, I want your path to be the path of love, devotion, and surrender, or I want your path to be based on mysticism, or I want your path to follow Kundalini Yoga. So the Supreme deals with each individual master in his own way. The masters are exponents or channels. The Supreme may tell the master, when the time comes, accept this particular disciple. The Supreme does not necessarily say this according to the seeker's present way of approaching the truth. The sincere seeker himself may not yet know which path to follow. Again, if it is the will of the Supreme, the master will definitely tell a seeker, my path is not meant for you. But he will usually not be able to direct the seeker to somebody else's path, for he is not in a position to say anything. It is like this. Suppose I find it difficult to accept a seeker into my path. I will not be able to tell him to go to a given master, in spite of knowing that this is the kind of path he should follow. This is because he might go there and the master might not accept him. There may not necessarily be any personality conflict between the master and the seeker. It is only that the different paths are run in different ways. So a master of a particular path may not accept someone who I feel may benefit from that master. When a seeker feels that he is ready to go to a spiritual master, he wants to notice a few things inside the master: peace, light, and bliss. When he sees these qualities inside the master and feels joy when he is with the master and confidence that the master can take him to the golden shore, then he tells the master that he is ready and anxious to be his disciple. The master will either accept him or he will say that he is sorry, but he cannot accept the master as a disciple. If he cannot accept the seeker, it is because he feels the seeker will make better progress, faster progress, if he belongs to somebody else. When the master does not accept someone, it doesn't mean that the seeker is useless. No, he has aspiration, but the master feels that if he studies under the guidance of some other spiritual master, he will make much better progress. I accept most of the seekers who come to me and want to accept me as their master. Only on rare occasions do I not accept someone. But again, some people come to me and do not see anything in me, so they go away. They are doing absolutely the right thing. But in your case, if you feel confidence in me, if you feel inner joy and peace when you look at me, if you feel that this is your spiritual home, if you feel that these are your spiritual brothers and sisters, and you are a member of this family, then you should accept our path as your own.